No worries, you're fine.
Look like you just got your hair cut. You just searched water. Perfect timing.
Yes, we have our own.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's pretty much every time, everything.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's
Right.
easy. Yes. Good, good. Well, my sister said take copious notes, so now we can just watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That went to
I
that
still
track.
take notes.
I am live. Welcome to Waters Garden Center. My name's Michelle, and today's class is on privacy, trees and shrubs, screening, that type of thing. One of the things that people always like to tell me, and one of the gardening jokes out there is, you know, the best time to plant a tree is, right? 20 years ago? That way it gets to where you want it to be right now. So we're going to talk about how to screen out the neighbor's RV park or trash cans that you are unsightly, electrical boxes and that type of thing. There's a lot of different ways of going about it. You can do evergreens, which is going to give you that year-round color. You could do vines and that type of thing, over trellises, fences. That'll give you that nice coverage that you like or need in whatever case you're trying to do. We are kind of in this situation where houses are being built as fast as we can say Prescott. So we want that privacy in our yards. So we're going to start with some evergreens. A lot of these are going to be resistant to our deer, rabbits, and javelina. That being said, a hungry animal in the wintertime will eat just about anything out there. So keep that in mind when you're planting. A lot of the trees and stuff, the deer like to rut in the fall. So if you do have that type of situation going, you want to kind of protect them at least through that fall season. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a kind of a medium-sized shrub. This is a mid-julep juniper. He will get in that 4 to 6 feet tall and wide. Resistant to deer and javelina, full sun, likes the full sun, can do a little bit of shade, but just kind of be careful with that watering situation. Hedgeable, if you want to kind of keep him maintained and uniform, you can do that with him. Very, very, very drought tolerant as well. Beautiful green foliage. There are a couple of other evergreens that are smaller. If you're looking for like an electrical box, something to hide an electrical box or a power source or something, you know, you just want to keep that hidden. These guys make a great shrub for that. The sea green or sea of gold juniper is a little bit smaller. If you need something a little bit smaller, it kind of gets in that 3 to 4 foot. But junipers make one of the best screens out there. while we're talking about junipers, I'm going to show you over here. The emerald green one is a Spartan Juniper. He is going to get in that 10 to 12 foot tall range and about 4 to 6 wide. The Wichita Blue, which is right next to him, gets in the same size range as the Spartan, but you just get that really pretty blue-gray color for you. When you are creating your privacy space, you have to look at a couple of different ideas out there. Are you trying to do a whole fence line of area? Is it just one spot, you know, in front of your window? You don't want to see into your neighbor's window. Bring that to us. We can help you find the right plants and shrubs to go in those areas. If you have a larger space, sometimes it looks good if you separate them and stagger them a little bit. So you have 5 in the back and 4 in the front, just kind of offset. That gives you a little bit more dense privacy without letting the trees kind of grow into each other. So it's something to think about. Another thing you want to think about is you don't have to plant all one thing. As you guys know, or hopefully you know, the Leland Cypress, which a lot of people bought and used as privacy screens because they're very, very fast growing. And they fill a lot of space. They came down with the canker, the Ceridium canker, and it took basically all of them out. There are a few still around town, but they are getting to the point where they are dying off very quickly, and so there's very few in town. We stopped selling them a couple of years ago just because of that. We just didn't want to pass that down. So think about that too when you're buying plants. You don't want all of one thing. You want to kind of stagger them out, because if something weird comes through, you don't want to lose the whole row of what you just did. So keep that in mind as well. Both of those are deer, just like the other juniper, deer and rabbit resistant, full sun, drought tolerant, so that's a great thing to have. People worry about junipers because they don't want the pollen. Well, most trees do have pollen. They're not like the alligator junipers that go in a puff of smoke when in the springtime when you do that. So you will get some pollen off of these, but they're not as toxic as those alligator junipers that are out there. So it's a great plant to have. I'm going to talk about vines for a minute. There are several vines out there that would make a great privacy screen. And it depends on the use of your space on which one to go with. The Trumpet Creeper is a deciduous vine, so it will lose all its leaves in the wintertime. But it's got these beautiful orange flowers. The hummingbirds and the bees just love these guys, and they're just fabulous. The Hall's honeysuckle, which is this one here, has little yellow and white flowers, blooms most of the summer, and is evergreen. That's what's great about this guy. So even in the wintertime, he will have leaves on it. He's not as bold and beautiful. Hello, Mr. Hummingbird. It's a honeysuckle. It's a Hall's Japanese honeysuckle. Grapevine, like I said, they're not as full as they are in the summertime, but you'll still have that greenery to do your privacy screen. Yeah, it's the Balboa Sunset Trumpet Vine. It's beautiful, and you can't beat that red color. Some of them are washed out a little bit this year just because of the hot sun that we had that late June, and then the rain that we've had. It tends to fade flowers out a little bit, but they're still pretty, and Hummers just love them. This guy here is it's not technically a vine. It is a Pyrocantha Firethorn, I've heard them called. These guys are evergreen. They will get in that 10 to 12 foot size range. They are a little bit deadly. They have these little thorns here, where the firethorn comes from. But these little berries turn orange in the fall and winter, and the birds just love them. So they're really, really pretty. You're feeding the bird, you're also getting the privacy that you want. They're very trimmable, so you can manicure them, keep them nice and even. You can create a box. I had one kind of espaliered across the front of my trailer at home, and it was really, really pretty. It got so big that it was just scraping the heck out of my house, so I had to cut it down. But in a right spot, he would be perfect for you. And fairly fast growing. Even if you trim them, they grow really fast. Pyrocantha.
Red berries are definitely, me and my sister ate them off my grandfather's when we were like 5. We were so sick.
So according to this guest, we don't want to eat the berries. They're deadly. But the birds love them. It's amazing what we do as dumb kids, isn't it?
Where did we ever come up with the idea of the berries? I don't know.
They're pretty. Well, that's why everybody has the thing with the washer tub things. Because kids are eating them because they think they're candy. Grapevines are another way to get your privacy screen in and also get some fruit out of it. They're very pretty, great growth. You'll get a good 20 feet a year. So with both the trumpet vine and the honeysuckle have a really fast growth rate once they get established. It does take a year or two to get things established in Prescott. Our ground is so dense, compact, and our pH level is so out of whack that it takes plants a little bit of time to get going. So give them time, give them a little patience, and then they're going to take off for you. This is the Swenson red grape. You can create a trellis, an arbor. You can actually do the scaffolding, like if you wanted to really grow grapes. But it's a great plant to have for your privacy screen. So this guy here is a Colorado blue spruce. He's one of the more slower growers out there. He's going to get in that probably 30, 40 foot size range eventually, and about 20 wide. You'll get about 8 inches a year from him, and they are resistant to animals. Basically everything I've shown you so far is a full sun plants. So if you're looking for a shade plant, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Michelle, could you repeat the name?
Oh, it's a Colorado blue spruce. You're welcome. Privets. Waxleaf privets are a great hedge plant, also for privacy screens, as that gentleman over there just knows. He just bought a whole bunch of them for us. They are going to get in that 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. So plan appropriately when you space them apart. Most people will go a little bit closer just because they want that instant spacing, but you don't want them too close together because they'll start interfering with each other. You won't get the growth rate. They need that space in order to grow. Little white flowers in the springtime that they have, and they smell amazing. It's a really great plant. And they are fairly resistant to animals. I've heard a few people tell me that the deer munch on them a little bit, but not that often. While we're in evergreens, this is a gold spot euonymus. This guy will get in that 12 to 15 foot tall and wide. Really beautiful euonymus. However, these are on the buffet menu on Deer Street. So if you have deer and rabbits, do not plant these because they'll eat them for you. Beautiful gold color, they keep all their leaves all year round. Pretty drought tolerant once they get it planted. Once a week watering is all you'll need to do. So it's a great plant. Sure.
Douglas wants to know, how tall does the
Wax leaf privet will get in that 6 to 8 foot tall and wide. Everybody's favorite. This is the red Tip Putinia. This is a great plant for a couple of different reasons. People use it all over. It's kind of almost overplanted in this area, but it's a beautiful shrub. These beautiful red leaves are the new growth. So most people will do a hedge early in the fall, so they get that growth during the winter time, and so you have that beautiful green and red Christmas color. Fast growing shrub, once they get established, these guys can get about 12 to 15 feet tall and wide. Kind of look at your tags when you're around, because I do have 2 different varieties of the Photinia. This is the Fraser's Photinia. There is also a red Dynamo Photinia, which is a little bit more dense, which is kind of nice, and it only gets about 8 foot, so it's more manageable in size unless you do hedge it quite often. Deer have been known to eat this, but not too much. I've had people say they eat them all the way to the ground, and then I've had people say they never touch it. So be careful. This guy here is a Silver King euonymus. Again, same caution with the other one. Deer and rabbits love this guy. This one's kind of unique in its size because it's going to get in that 6 foot tall and about 3 wide. So it kind of gives you that columnar look if you want or need something that way. Fairly fast growing in that 6-inch range. Beautiful color. If you have a dark space, this will brighten it up. So it's a great plant to have. Okay. All right. This is a Parnia Cotoneaster. This is kind of unique in a way that it's more lacy. Someone else gave me that word. It has nice branching, so it kind of arches, give you a nice look. I've also seen them hedged up where they're very boxy. I think they're prettier when they're just left to do their own thing. These guys will get in that 6 to 8 foot range. They are evergreen, which is really nice. This is also called the red clusterberry because it has little white flowers in the springtime and red berries in the fall. So it is related to like your ground cover cotoneasters. It's in that family. He tends to get a little bit purple in the winter, which is really nice. So it gives you some pretty color. The berries, the birds love. So that's an extra effect if you're into birds. It is resistant, so it's a great plant to have. And I'm not going to drag this guy over, but this is a Deodor Cedar. Thank you, Jeremy. I will peek through the. Deodor Cedars are a very fast-growing evergreen that does really, really well here. I have recommended a lot of these to people because of the fast-growing aspect to them. They get about 20 feet or 40 feet tall and 20 wide. They grow about 12 to 18 inches a year once they get established. And again, usually that takes a couple of years so the roots can support all of that growth. So it's a really pretty plant. He's one of my scraggly kids, so I always, because he's always so weepy until they get strong enough to hold their branches up. So they always remind me of a young teenager that haven't quite grown into their body yet. So once they do, they'll spread out and get a really pretty Christmas tree form.
And how tall? I'm sorry, how tall are you?
About 40 feet tall.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's not that big.
And
That's not that one, really.
well, the weird thing is, and this is just Michelle's theory on things, is that I have seen them in yards where they take that full 20 feet. But if you go down Pioneer Parkway, there's one yard that has a full stretch. The whole yard is it. And they're probably 6-7 foot. And I don't know if it's because they were planted so close together that there was no more room for them to grow. They're still probably 20-30 foot, but they're only 6-8 feet maybe. So they kind of grow into their own space, but again, that's Michelle's theory on the thing. I don't think they had the space to grow. Thank you. So this guy here is a dwarf Alberta spruce, very slow growing tree. So if you're looking for something fast growing, this is not the one. But he's almost full grown. So if you're looking for 7 foot, he's ready to go. Nice size, 8 feet tall, 3 to 4 wide. Works really well in off of pillars, like in front of your garage. They make nice sentinels on each side. Nice little Christmas trees to put little white sparkly lights on. Just a kind of a great little tree if you're looking for that size range. A dwarf Alberta spruce. And again, he'll get in that 8 foot tall, 3 to 4 wide. They actually work really well in a pot because of the slow growing. We have them in all different sizes that people put them in on their front porch for decorations and such. Jeremy, you're awesome. Thank you. Lastly, I've got some deciduous stuff that I was going to talk about. Sometimes it's nice, you get your base on your privacy screen. So say you go with 5 or 6 offset of your Spartan Junipers and your Wichita Blues, just to give you some color differences. And then if you have some sides or something in the front, you can always offset it with butterfly bushes. They're going to get in that 6 to 8 foot size range. They also come in 5 foot size, and we also have some smaller ones that really wouldn't work for privacy, but they're really pretty anyway. Butterfly bush is going to bloom all summer long, so it gives you that spark of color with that privacy. Think about your areas too. A lot of people say they don't want to look at just sticks out in the wintertime, but you're really missing out if you go all evergreen in your backyard without flower color in the spring and the summer. If you're not out in the wintertime anyway, sitting on your back porch, who cares if it sticks, But keep it in mind when you're planting. Get you some color in there as well. It depends on the variety of the butterfly bush. If it's a regular butterfly bush, they usually get in that 8 to 10 foot size range. There are smaller ones, like this Miss Molly is in that 5 foot range. I'm sorry? Her question was, do you have to trim them? And yeah, I do trim my butterfly bushes. You don't necessarily have to, but they do get really woody the next year. So I just cut them down. I usually whack them back to knee high. That gets all that woodiness out of there, and the new growth just hides those sticks up, and you're good to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. This is another of one of my favorites. This is actually called the Summertime Blues Chase Tree. Some of our other chase trees will get in that 10 to 12 foot range, which is a really nice small tree, large shrub size range. This one actually has the wider leaf and only gets 6 foot tall and wide. So it can hide trash cans, it can hide a gas meter, so it can do some hiding in that way, but you still get these really pretty purple flowers that bloom most of the summer. Another tree that is kind of in that same chase tree size range is the smoke bush. Or the purple smoke tree. That one will get in that 12 to 15 foot range as well. I've seen people keep that hedged up, and it's really pretty because it has those dark purple leaves, kind of like this one. But the smoke bush has those kind of spindly flowers that look like a puff of smoke, which is where they got the name from it. Anybody that lives in the Prescott Lakes area, there's a lot of them, especially on Smoke Tree Lane or Drive. I don't know if it's Lane or Drive, but there's a lot of them on that, and they keep it really shrubbed down. This guy is a Sistina Plum or a purple leaf sand cherry. Really pretty because he has the purple foliage. He has really pretty pink flowers in the springtime, so it really starts off with a bang. He will get in that 9 to 12 foot range, so he's a small tree or a large shrub, but it's a great deciduous screen if you're looking for some color in your yard. Why is the last one a heavy one? This is an Arizona cypress, which is probably the closest to the alligator juniper that we sell. It'll get in that 25 foot tall range and about 15 feet wide. Fast growing, it's another one that'll do that 8 or 12 to 18 inches a year when it gets, especially if you water it regularly. And when I say water regularly, once they're established, once a week watering is all your plants need, unless you have a bunch of little small perennials and such. But once a week watering is all you need, as long as it's getting the volume of water. Evergreen, resistant to deer, rabbits, and that type of thing. And the neat thing about these is that they're all unique. They're seed grown. So every one of them looks just a little bit different than anybody else. So they're very individual. Okay. Say that? Oh, sorry. I got carried away. This is our sign-up sheet. So there are pamphlets. I will send the deer and rabbit-resistant sheet out to you guys and more information about privacy classes. I'll just start this with you.
Ken Lane has actually written an ebook, and you'll get a link to that ebook that covers a lot of what Michelle's talking about.
Do I need to repeat that?
Maybe.
Okay.
If people online want to send it,
Okay. Okay, so Ken Lane has written an ebook on privacy screening. So by signing up on this one on the sheet, or you can send a link or send a note on Facebook. So we'll get that and we'll send it out to you. But it's all about privacy, basically what we're discussing today. He's got a lot of good information on there too. Lastly, bamboo. So bamboo is one of those plants that kind of go wild. So this is one of those that it's not like our little nandinas. That does go wild a little bit too, but this one gets really tall, probably in that 10 to 15 foot size range. Not evergreen, so it does go dormant during the winter time. But if you need that scale for, your neighbors that you don't want to see, it's a great summertime screening plant. There are different varieties, and some of them have a little bit different leaf color and different sizes. So kind of read the tag on the sizes if you're kind of concerned on how big something will get.
Actually, Darlene anticipated you're showing bamboo. She asked the question, how can bamboo be used in a screen without being so invasive? Can they be contained in concrete or metal plants?
Really good question. Was it Darlene?
Yes.
Darlene, great question. So Darlene wants to know, can you contain the growth of bamboo? And the answer is yes. And containers are a great way of doing that. So if you are in a patio home, for instance, you can use a horse trough. Just make sure that you've got holes in the bottom so you get really good drainage. But that's a great way. I've seen people, because of the way our soil structure is, if you put metal around, dig a trench and put metal around the edges and leave the bottom open so you do have that drainage, that'll contain it. It's kind of like mint in that way. You'd never want to put mint out somewhere where you want your garden to be, because it will take over the whole thing. So yes, you can definitely contain this if you want to. Lastly, on privacy, there are deciduous trees and shrubs like the autumn blaze maple that gets 40 feet tall and 20 wide, gives you beautiful color, and it only gives you privacy for the spring and summer. Once it turns beautiful red in the fall, you will lose your leaves. But sometimes having that color, again, it gives you some variety in your landscapes. So change it up, get some color into your scheme, and I think you'll be much more happier than just looking at a sea of green on the back wall. Anybody have any questions or anything that?
If you have that, I bought a rental house and it had that growing already in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very evasive. I can't get rid of it. What do I use to thin it down, get rid of it, whatever?
Okay. Her question is she's got some bamboo already in her yard, and it is a very invasive plant. So basically, I would probably use the brush killer on it. The brush killer is a shrubby, woody killer. So I would actually use it full strength. I would actually cut it down, snip it, and actually use a paintbrush full strength on it, so it sucks it right down into the root system, and it'll kill it that way. Okay. We use that on like scrub oak and things like that. So it's a great product for that type of thing. And I always use it full strength just so it will suck into the root system.
Is that real toxic?
So most of your weed killers and things like that are toxic as long as they're wet. So if you've got pets that you're concerned about, don't let them out until it's fully dried, and then they're safe. Once it's dry, it's okay. Anybody else have any questions about those? Yeah.
Shade tolerant.
Shade tolerant. Okay. I don't know why I didn't grab any shade stuff. The thing with the shade is that a lot of the blooming stuff is like rhododendrons, the camellias will get in that 5 to 6 foot range, and will get and stays green. It does bloom early spring. Thank you, Radar. Hicks yew is a evergreen that loves the shade. This is more of an upright shrub, so it will get in that 10 to 12 foot range. They have red berries like this, which I have heard are poisonous, so be careful. Great little shrub. It kind of looks like a pine this way, very hedgeable. In England, there's a lot of hedges like this out over there. The holly is the same thing. It's a great shade plant. It gets in that 10 to 12 foot size range and spreads out. You can hedge it and does great. Hicks yew, Hicks yew. It's Y-E-W. Is how it's spelled. There's also a dense spreading yew, which is gets like 6 to 8 feet tall, and it spreads 10 foot wide. So those get nice and big, also for shade. And when we say shade here, it is in that it can handle some morning sun. It's our hot, intense sunshine. So for those of you that are new to this area, we have a couple of things against us. We have our altitude, which is a mile high, so we're so close to the sun, and we're at a high desert location. So our sun is so intense. Typically, we don't have any humidity until our monsoons kick in, which thankfully they have this year, so we're all grateful for that. But a lot of the tags on the plants themselves, be careful when you're reading that. They make their tags for the entire country, not for Prescott, Arizona. So we are high altitude. So if you're in doubt, ask one of us. We can help you out. We usually have our stores set up where we have a shade section, which is the row right in front of the cash registers, and then that side area. We are starting to set up for the big monsoon sale that'll come in mid-August. We've moved everything up here. Also, my annuals are kind of going away slowly, so we're just going to utilize up here for some of the shade stuff. So the berries, the red berries. Mm-hmm. To pets, yes. Mm-hmm. But I was told the dense yew didn't have it, but I would check with your vet first. Always check with your vet because they know more than I am. This is a Japanese laurel. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I forgot the whole shade thing. The Japanese laurel is very similar to the cubia. This is an evergreen, and it has this beautiful variegation. Going to get in that 6 to 8 foot range, but it does need afternoon shade. So a little bit of morning sun will do just fine, but that hot afternoon sun, it'll fry. It is a Japanese laurel. It is not Well, it's rabbit resistant. It's not deer resistant. If it gets too much sun, it'll turn black like this. This is what happens. You brought me a viburnum. Okay. So this is a leatherleaf viburnum, which is a deciduous plant, but it is also for shade. This one actually has really pretty white flowers on top of it. Almost looks like a hydrangea flower on it, but really pretty. Gets in that 6 to 8 foot size range, and it is viburnums are on the resistant list. Okay. Just a few things that I wanted to touch base with, unless somebody else had questions about the privacy screens. No, we're good? Okay. One of the things we've seen lately is because of our high humidity rate, we're seeing powdery mildew out there. So always make sure that you have a arsenal in your closet. Revitalizes our fungicide, works really well. We are seeing fire blight on trees and shrub or fruit trees. We're seeing black spots on aspens. We're even seeing it on maples, which is really weird. I haven't seen black spot on maples before, but we're seeing all sorts of weird stuff. So be prepared. If you have questions, don't hesitate to put a snippet in a baggie and bring it in. We have a microscope. We have a lot of talented folks here that we can take a look at it for you and try to diagnose it. Bugs that are out there, we are seeing, we saw our first blister beetle the other day, so be careful with those. They can take a garden down in less than a day if they attack you. Grasshoppers are out there. They're doing some pretty good chomping on things. When you go to plant any of your privacy screens, make sure that you do 2/3 natural soil, 1/3 mulch, which is in our planting guide. If we did not get you one, please stop by the front register and we'll get you one. But we usually hand those out when you purchase stuff from us, which gives you details how to plant. Root and grow is another one that when you plant, you want to start that out. It takes some of the stress off the plant and it gets the hair roots going. The last thing I wanted to mention, with all of this rain, please shut off your sprinkler systems. Don't keep watering. Your plants are probably drowning by now. So we're going to start seeing some of that overwater stress. So be really careful with water. With the monsoon, it's so weird the way it rains here. Some people are in those pockets that still haven't gotten any rain. Are you one of them? Okay. If you are getting rain on a daily basis, don't water anymore. Your plants have plenty. When there are mud puddles out there, you don't need more water. Let it dry out a good 7 days before you do start watering again, because I can tell you your plants are well saturated. I've had to go out and make some holes in my stuff just to give them some air in there because I'm so clay. I have such clay soil that I need some air pockets in there just to give them a breather. So kind of be careful. Come on in if you have questions, we can answer them for you. Yeah.
I have some of the root stimulator and some other things as well, and they've been in a garden shed for a couple of years, which is hot. Do they lose their potency?
They'll lose a little bit, but usually as long as they don't freeze, they still have their capability. It's when they freeze and thaw that sometimes it doesn't, or it loses its effectiveness. But usually it only loses a little bit, so you should be okay. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions online? We're good? All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming, braving the rain. It looks like we have a little sunshine for now, so we'll enjoy that as we go. Thank you for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you.
you.